Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP, and I got
Mickey B. Fresh. And today we're going to talk about the new Songbird Network and how the reward system is going to work, and the new Flare Finance ExFi, which stands for Experimental Finance. But first, before we get into that, I want to share a post from Hugo, the CEO of Flare Limited, explaining the Flare network and what has happened over the past few months in development. And he writes, quote, "It's important to understand that most chains launch with very little interest, usage, applications, and with a plan to decentralize slowly. Flare is one of the largest launches ever, with a massive community and multiple amazing applications building on it and going totally decentralized from day one. From when we wrote the white paper to now, Flare is much, much bigger than we expected. Therefore, to protect everyone, it makes sense to take extra care." So this is a really important quote from him, and everyone has to understand here that Flare Network was planning to launch fully decentralized, which means that the network would have been fully decentralized, governance would have been initiated initially, and any changes would have had it ran through that description in the white paper. Now, no networks in like the history ever have launched decentralized like that. So Flare has gotten so big now with such a large community, this canary network, Songbird, is absolutely necessary. Now, I know a lot of people, you're upset, you get your Spark tokens a little later, but we have a canary network, Songbird, that is going to be the test bed, but also a real world network. So I don't understand how anyone could not be happy here. And now we're going to have experimental finance on here. You don't have to use your XRP. There's no losing your XRP. You can have a one-click way to swap onto the protocol for Flare Finance. So let's get into that a little, Patty, now.
absolutely. And so Flare Finance just released a blog last night detailing their plans for what they're calling experimental finance, or XFi, that will be launching on top of the Songbird Network. And we'll make sure to link all the information in the description below so you guys can check it out for yourself. But I want to start off with some of the changes in the tokenomics that will now be happening due to these recent developments. So, with the announcement of Flare launching a canary network in the Songbird network, 1 million YFlare will be redistributed to incentivize participants in this new experimental ecosystem, which is going to come out of the 20 million YFlare allocated to the Flare Foundation reserve pool. This brings the size of the IDO, which is initial DAO offering, for the YFlare token to 41 million YFlare, and it will be up for grabs for Spark and Songbird token holders alike. The airdrop of DFlare for Spark holders will still be 40 million. However, participants in the experimental finance protocol on Songbird will be able to earn from a 1 million Songbird DFLR pool. And so with this Songbird, any DFLR earned on Songbird can be swapped via Flare Finance's one-click swap portal for DFLR on the Flare network upon launch of the mainnet. And furthermore, YFlare will then be able to be claimed 1 month after the Flare network launch by swapping any DFLR for YFLR via the Flare X protocol. And of the 1 million Songbird DFLR rewards, 650,000 will be allocated to Flare Farm on Songbird and 350,000 to Flare Loans on Songbird, with an expected distribution period of 63 days. So, Mickey, what we see here is now they're going to be doing, a total, dropping of 41 million DFLR tokens instead of 40 million. However, 1 million of the total 41 million will be able to be earned via the XFi protocol on Songbird, and it will be via two of their applications, which is going to be Flare Farm and Flare Loans. So I think this is really cool. It's going to drive people to want to participate on Songbird at least a little more than what we knew so far. And I think this is very exciting. Now I can actually get something that will be beneficial to me on Flare Network in the future by participating in Songbird Network.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great thing that Flare Finance is doing by not just creating a mirror image of Flare Finance, they're creating a ecosystem there that's going to have the Flare Finance core protocols in there, and it's going to allow you to earn. Now, also, isn't there another airdrop we're going to receive now out of this, Patty?
Yeah, definitely. And
And
let's
here, so we now have a fourth token. Now, hear that, everybody. 4 tokens you're receiving out of this initial snapshot from December 12th. 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4.
kind of reminds me of when LeBron James went to the Heat. He's not like
Mm-hmm.
4 rings, not 5 rings, 6 rings. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting 4 token airdrops.
yeah. And so kind of to carry on here with more about the launch plan. So within this period before the Flare mainnet goes live, there's going to be 3 assets that you can use to participate on the experimental finance protocol. And these are going to be the Songbird token, ticker symbol SGB, the DAO Flare token, which is DFLR, and the Canary dollar, which is going to be noted CAND. The Canary dollar is going to be representative of YUSD on Flare Network, but it will be its version on the Songbird Network. And with that, we know that you can earn 1 million DFLR tokens that can be swapped onto Flare Network when it's launched. So that's really cool. And that's what you're going to be earning from Flare loans and Flare farm participation. So the only protocols that will be available until Flare mainnet goes live is going to be Flare X for liquidity pool swapping, and then Flare Farm for staking of LP tokens, and then Flare loans in order to mint this Canary dollar, and also, participate in however that ecosystem is going to work, which we've kind of learned a little bit more about here. So, in order to earn these DFLR from the Flare Loans platform, you will have to deposit the Canary dollar in the Flare Loans stabilization pools. So, I think that's interesting. The model they're going to use for their stablecoin is going to involve some stabilization pools to assist in liquidating people that haven't maintained their collateral ratio. So that's kind of the first glimpse we're getting into that. There'll be more information before Songbird goes live, and we'll cover that further down the line. But, once Flare mainnet goes live, then they're going to unlock the entire suite of products on their protocol for Songbird and Flare Finance. And so, like, Songbird's going to have Flare Mine, Flare Mutual, Flare Wrap, the governance staking pool, and the APY cloud. So all that stuff is going to be available. And then on top of that, they're going to launch 2 governance tokens on Songbird. One will be SFLR and one will be SFIN. As far as I can tell, they're going to have the same token supply as the YFLR and YFIN tokens on Flare Network. And the SFLR token will be airdropped to all holders of Songbird token, so SGB, and it's going to be 40 million just like on Flare Network when they get to that launching. So I know we're kind of like going between a lot of different name stuff. It's something, we'll have to get used to over time, how to like refer to these. But to me, it's really exciting. And then once like Flare mainnet's live on Songbird, if you want to keep participating there, you can earn SFIN, which is going to be that same primary governance token as YFIN. With the 11,000 supply, you're going to earn it through Flare Mutual, through Flare Loans, and through Flare Farm. So, I mean, we're basically seeing a mirror protocol of the entire Flare Finance like flagship platform that's going to go on Flare Network. It's also going to launch on Songbird Network. And another really cool thing, Mickey, is that they were really highlighting how, they hope that ExFi allows like community devs, open source devs to start building and testing in the real world composable projects with Flare Finance. So, this is going to be a real innovation hub for DeFi on the Flare network. And if, some of these, composable projects that are built out are looking like really solid projects, then Flare Finance governance can vote to bring those up, to the big leagues pretty much on the Flare network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. This is a really innovative design, and this is something brand new they're calling here ExFi. So we're going to have the capabilities to see advanced technologies and innovations and that composability take place on the Songbird network first, and then they will make their way over to Flare network. But at some point, I see Songbird, as things go as planned, it's going to go off into its own network and be kind of an advanced version of Flare network. Now, I just want to go back here for a second because I know it was a little confusing. We mentioned all those tokens. So I just want to repeat. Now you're going to receive YFLare for your Spark holdings, right? Now you're going to receive SFlare for your Songbird holdings. Okay, so those are the 4 different airdrops. You're going to get Spark, you're going to get Songbird, then you're going to get YFlare, which is going to start as DFlare, and you swap it to YFlare. Then you're going to get SFlare for having Songbird. So those are the 4. And I know that sounds like a lot right now. And it's not that they're giving you these away for free just to make you happy. They're part of the actual network, and they are the governance tokens for each network. Spark for Flare. You have Songbird for the Songbird Network. And then you have YFlare, which is one of the governance tokens for the Flare finance ecosystem on the Flare network. And then you got SFlare, which is going to be one of the governance tokens for the ExFi ecosystem on Songbird. So they all have a use case and a place to be used here. So I think this is really important that the ecosystem has just expanded massively and more opportunities to earn money. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, neither is Patty, and nothing we say in here is financial advice, but it's pretty obvious there are now double the ways to earn money and participate in the Flare network and Songbird network without having to put your, say, XRP at risk. You could use Songbird tokens that you get as an airdrop and use those in the experimental Flare finance ecosystem.
Yeah, and I just want to add on, like, we kind of covered this in our first Songbird Network video we did, but there is that chaos warning, and Songbird is going to be subordinate to the Flare network. So, like, let's say they're trying to add additions to the F asset system on the Flare mainnet. Well, if Flare governance decides they want to do that and it needs to be built on Songbird first, then that means any assets you have on there could be affected by changes to the F asset protocol while they're building it out and testing. Like, I don't think they're just going to willy-nilly throw it out there, but it's going to be the testing ground to bring it up to the Flare mainnet. So just, really take that into account. This is definitely higher risk, but I think with the higher risk, the rewards by a percentage point with some of the stuff in Flare Finance could be higher than on Flare Network, because I would imagine we're going to see less people participating. But I think that's kind of a good segue, Mickey, for us to kind of hop into, what are the base level rewards you can get on Songbird right now, and kind of explain a couple differences between Flare Network.
Yes, and now this will be posted in the description below, and also check out the website, the DeFiStandard.com. We've added plenty of resources in there that are all free for you to check out regarding Songbird, Flare, Spark, DFlare, anything you want information on. We have everything posted in there, so please check that out. It's a free resource for the community.
Cool.
And now let's get into some of the rewards here that Patty has put together on his spreadsheet.
Yep, absolutely.
So what is the difference, Patty, here between the FTSO rewards on Songbird compared to the Flare network?
Okay, so yeah, that's a great question. And, some of you guys may remember this going back to all the discussions around that governance proposal that was put out and then retracted. So, one of the reasons that Flare Network was going to do a 3-year token distribution was that it would make the yield for participating in the FTSO much higher at the beginning than it would be if they dropped all the tokens at once. So with Songbird, we are actually going to see the entire supply of Songbird dropped on the launch of it, which the total supply is going to be 15 billion. And we don't know the final distributions, but here's the estimations that I have based on the last time Flare commented on what the Flare network airdrop would look like. And I just scaled it down to 15 billion supply rather than 100 billion. So the Flare Foundation is going to get 3 billion Songbird tokens. Flare Limited, which is Hugo and his team, the incorporated entity that they will be forming, will get 3.75 billion, and then approximately Spark XRP holders will be getting 4.5 billion Songbird tokens. So with that, there's no F asset pools, so these are both going to be 0. That means the only network rewards you can receive are via the FTSO voting. And when I say network rewards, it doesn't, I'm not taking into account the dApps and stuff that will launch, like the ExFi protocol, or when Trustline and Probity announce what exactly they're going to do on Songbird. So this is just strictly coming from, F asset system or the FTSO. So with that, we should expect that you're not going to earn as much Songbird on the network rewards layer during the same period of time as you would if you were on Flare and participating with Spark. There are some caveats there, like if the participation is crazy low, then maybe it can kind of counteract that, lack of long-term supply distribution rather than it being all up front. But that's something we're going to have to see. So for this example, I'm using somebody that's going to receive 10,000 Songbird tokens on day one. That means they probably had a pretty hefty XRP bag during the snapshot. And additionally, I'm going to say that this person buys 10,000 Songbird tokens. So, Mickey, I think it's debatable. I think you may think the price tag of Songbird may be a little higher than what I think. I would say I think 1 cent is probably what it's going to be. But it could be lower and it could be higher. But if it was 1 cent, it would only cost you $100 to buy 10,000 additional Songbird tokens, and you would get 100,000 if you spent $1,000 to get them. We'll still
That's a good.
go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in there. So anyone who's like not receiving Songbird on this airdrop, if it's going to be a very low price like this, you could easily still participate with just a couple of $100 and possibly have as much as somebody who's getting the airdrop. So I don't think you should feel left out, like you can't participate in the Songbird network just because you didn't get the airdrop. You could spend $100 and get a plenty amount of tokens to be able to participate in testing.
Yeah, I mean, literally $50 at this price tag would get you 5,000 Songbird tokens just so you can play around and participate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, the dollar
We're
value is going to,
speculating
yeah,
on the
exactly.
price. So it could be 1 cent. We're just throwing that out there. We don't know for sure, but I think it's safe to say, Patty, it's going to be probably considerably less than what Spark would have been. This also probably will raise Spark's initial price too, since we have this network out there first. Everyone's going to be able to test it. Everyone's going to see how they could earn rewards. So anyone on Twitter might be saying, "Oh, I'm going to dump my this. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell that." They could say all they want now. After you see the network live and you're able to practice and see the rewards you earn, when Flare does launch, I think it's going to pull a higher price for Spark initially. So I just want to throw my opinion out there on that. And that's
No, I
just,
think
not
that's
financial
totally
advice,
fair.
but
I think that's
like,
a fair
mhm.
thought process. Like I'm thinking maybe Spark would have been higher than I thought, but we're still going to have the factors of let's say the market, takes a massive downturn in September. Well, that could just result in it being lower by nature of the market being lower. But I do think this would provide a little push up on the price for sure, with people getting to test it out, see how it works, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, going in here further, so probably it's going to be, once the Songbird network launches, it'll probably be around 30 to 45 days until Flare network launches. So let's just say you just want to see how much you can earn over 45 days before, and you are just going to take your Songbird tokens and then swap those for Spark. So I could see people definitely thinking that they're like, I don't particularly care about the test net or the experimental network for the long term. And I just want to use this opportunity to earn rewards and then put them on the Flare network. So over 45 days, if you had 10,000 tokens from the airdrop as well as 10,000 purchased, you're only earning 723 Songbird tokens. So it's really not that much. And this kind of really shows you what I was saying in that the rewards from the FTSO are going to be much lower since all the tokens are out there. But like, let's say not a lot of people are participating, and over those 45 days, it's 25% or even lower. Like, obviously your rewards are going to go up much more. It's still not a ton, especially if the price is only a few pennies or something like that. However, like let's say if we look at this over 365 days, because the network's not just going to go away, you're going to be able to keep earning throughout this entire time, even when Flare's live, and you may see some people forget about it. So we may see like a long-term participation rate that's like 40% on Songbird. Well, now it's like, okay, so I started out with 10,000 Songbird from the airdrop. I purchased 10,000, possibly for only $100. and I basically got a 50% yield on what I started with over the course of time with these, specifications in there, these variables. So obviously, like as participation increases, your rewards go down, or vice versa if participation goes down. Also, if we see the success rate of these signal providers, some of them having higher ones on Songbird in the short run, that can help you with what you're earning. But it just goes to show you, like, maybe you want to keep a little, keep some assets on Songbird, as it's going to act as the innovation layer for the Flare network. So you're going to get access maybe to some unique opportunities. You can keep earning the whole time, even if it's not a lot. So
Mhm.
yeah.
One thing here is that Songbird has a massive community with the XRP community. So unlike other ecosystems that have spun up networks and then have spun up test nets or tried to create ecosystems, we have this huge community. So I think it's going to be very important that Songbird, I think it's really going to be successful because we have such a big community. And if Flare is successful, Songbird kind of has to be successful. So when it comes to staying power and longevity of the network with such a big community already, you have to look at it like that and say, will this thing have long-term viability and last? Well, why would it? Do you have confidence in what the Flare network team is building? Because Songbird is the same thing as Flare. It's just going to be more advanced, actually, with the innovation. So you do have to take those things in mind and not say, this is just a glorified testnet, because it's not. It's the same thing as Flare, but with a big community. So that's the one thing that we have to keep in mind. XRP community is huge, and now we're transitioning from speculators to participants, and everyone is not going to make that transition. You could see some of the people in the community that are going to get left behind, and they're going to stay as speculators, while the rest of us are going to transition into participants.
Yeah, absolutely. And you if you asked me yesterday in our live stream about purchasing the Songbird token, like what are you looking at for it? Well, now that Flare Finance has made this XFi announcement, it's become a little less speculative to me, or a little less risky. What I see now is, if we're gonna have a full fledged DeFi platform on Songbird here in a little over a month, that's pretty powerful. I mean, Cardano and Polkadot don't have full-fledged DeFi ecosystems yet. Ethereum has its issues, and if this is going to be here and Flare Finance wants to see people experiment on it, create new projects, I think that gives it a lot more potential for staying power. I'm not saying that it's going to stay. It's still, very speculative in my opinion, at least. But to me, the fact that Flare Finance went full board with this and is really embracing it, and Trustline seems to be as well. We'll just have to see what they're going to decide to do on it. It provides a lot of opportunity, possibly in the long run, especially like if you said Flare Network does well. Well, naturally, some value is going to be here because people are going to want to get their hands on these new projects. And we already see Flare Finance is incentivizing people to participate with a way to transfer the value onto Flare. So it's possible we see new composable projects come out that will do the same. And this is where we go back to, the comparison with Kusama. So Kusama network, which is the canary network for Polkadot, one of the reasons that it's been going, it did really well in 2021, aside from the bull market, is that there is a use case for the Kusama token. And now we're going to see a use case for the Songbird token, multiple use cases. And, some of this will involve it getting staked and locked up and not traded. So those are all things that we would look for, like we look for on Flare Network, for what can help the price in the long term. But obviously, with the chaos thing, if people are building on it and things break, your value's at a little more of
Mm-hmm.
a, I don't know how to put that, but it's more at risk, I
It's more
guess.
at
Yeah.
risk. Yep.
But yeah, Mickey, I don't. Do you have anything else to add? I think that wraps it up for me.
Yeah, that's the last thing here. Just want to keep in mind that there is that chaos warning, but that was the same thing that was. So one other thing, just to wrap it up here, Patty, is just to explain to everyone that these tokens are being dropped with use cases and with utility. They're not just being airdropped just for the hell of being airdropped to give you value. They have actual use cases. The Songbird token is meant to be used in the FTSO system for decentralized price feeds. And it's also meant to be used as collateral in the F asset system there, testing, bringing these assets over from other networks. Songbird is integrated into 4 different blockchains out the gate with a brand new consensus model and a state connector system that digests all the data from those 4 networks and signals it back to the Songbird network. So just keep that in mind, that these tokens that are being airdropped are not just for the hell of it value. They have use case and they have real utility out the gate. They are also the governance token then of their networks. So I just wanted to make that clear so people know. And I know a lot of people ask, does this asset have utility? Does it have a use case? And it absolutely does with Songbird and with the Spark token. And even with S-Flare and Y-Flare, they both will have utility out the gate.
Absolutely. And I think that wraps it up for this episode, Mickey. So this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP, and
I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and join us today for live stream at 4 p.m.
Awesome. And we're out. See you guys.